Meowdy y'all, and welcome back to another video. Today we're diving into one of the most debated relationships in Stardew Valley, the marriage between Robin and Demetrius. Now you might be thinking, why defend them? But here's the thing. Despite being one of the healthier relationships in the game, in my opinion, Robin and Demetrius face a lot of criticism from the Stardew Valley community. So today we're going to look closely as to why their marriage is not only strong, but might be one of the most grounded and realistic relationships in Pelican Town. Buckle up. If you don't know me, I'm Sauter. I make Stardew Valley YouTube videos featuring game challenges, lore, and theory crafting and analyses, so if you've got any suggestions for the next video, feel free to leave a comment down below and hit that subscribe button for more. Firstly, if you watched my previous video about which Stardew Valley father is the best, you'll know that I have a lot to say about Demetrius and a lot of critiques, especially as his role as a stepfather. With that said, I also have critiques towards Robin as a stepmother. In normal scenarios, I don't consider certain things to just exist in a vacuum. For example, I typically think that you can't be a good husband if you're a bad father, because a good husband wouldn't treat his wife's children poorly. But for the sake of this video, we're going to separate Robin and Demetrius's capabilities as parents or step-parents and just focus on their interactions with each other and what we see as the player. Let's start by addressing the biggest misconception, that Robin and Demetrius are constantly fighting. There are two main issues that I have with this. Firstly, we have to remember that we're not seeing every single moment between characters. We're just seeing moments that Concerned Ape felt was important enough to include. One could argue, well, Sauter, if he included these arguments, then surely he's trying to tell us that their marriage is broken. But I'm not so sure about that. Concerned Ape also included Pierre punching Morris, who flew off the screen in a very slapstick manner, and then Pierre puts on his deal with it sunglasses. This isn't supposed to portray Pierre as some badass. It was supposed to be a silly way to wrap up closing down Joja Mart and show that the little guy finally got to win. Or it could be interpreted however we'd like, but let's face facts. There is a lot of hidden information in Stardew Valley and not everything is shown to us. We have room to wiggle and theorize based on certain information we see. This relates to real life in a lot of ways. Have y'all ever bickered with your significant other and it wasn't even that important, it was just a silly back and forth that really didn't matter, and afterward you realize that you probably only bickered because you were both tired or stressed out or hungry? The entire relationship isn't defined by one or two bad days where you bicker about things. It's more than that. That leads me to my next issue. It's true that we get two main scenes where Robin and Demetrius are caught in disagreements. However, it's important to distinguish between what they're doing and what we think of as fighting. Bickering, like we see between them, is vastly different from a serious argument. Bickering is playful, often rooted in personality quirks, and it lacks the anger or bitterness that you would see with a deeper conflict. Reach 6 hearts with Demetrius and you can unlock one of their disagreements. If you enter their house, you will see Demetrius and Robin bickering. She asked him to get fruit for a fruit salad, so he got tomatoes. She exclaims that tomatoes aren't what he should have thought of because they're not real fruit. He defends himself by saying that tomatoes are indeed a fruit and his mistake was reasonable. He asks you to choose whether tomatoes are fruits or vegetables. Your response will affect only Demetrius's friendship with you. Robin's friendship with you will not be affected. If you say vegetable, it is minus 30 friendship points with Demetrius, and he says, really? I figured a farmer would know the correct answer. If you say fruit, it's plus 50 friendship points with him, and he says, see? They agree with me. Regardless of the response, Demetrius will then follow up with, I just want you to understand my point of view. It's hard for me to know exactly what assumptions I should make when you tell me something, but I'll try to get better at it. After this, no matter which choice you made, Robin has a heart over her. The facial expression portraits and the emojis that Concerned Ape uses are really important. These are the facial expressions that Robin uses. Concerned Ape switches the character's facial expressions a lot, so we're able to really understand the emotions that they're dealing with. Robin never looks sad or angry throughout the cutscene. Mildly annoyed or rolling eyes, but not sad or angry. These are her sad and angry expressions, and you get them if you give her items that she really dislikes or hates. Similarly, here are the facial expressions that Demetrius has throughout the cutscene, and here are his neutral, kinda disappointed, and angry expressions. Neither are used in the cutscene. This was a low stakes, low energy, back and forth bickering. There is also the disagreement between Robin and Demetrius when you finish Robin's project, a special order request. After finishing it, Robin builds a new bed that you can now buy and shows it off to you. In this cutscene, Robin is very proud of her work. Voila! My newest creation. It's a deluxe 4-poster bed crafted from the finest local hardwood. Robin? What's the point of the 4 posts? It seems like an inefficient use of materials. It's called beauty, bud. You know, that thing that most people find enjoyable. We see a slightly annoyed facial expression on Robin. Now, see, this is where I can see this cutscene being considered an argument and not just bickering. Demetrius responds with, I see your point, but we can't let that outweigh the utility and efficiency of the sleep receptacle. Robin makes this expression. Uh-oh, now she's seriously mad. You know, sometimes it feels like you're being deliberately obtuse just to irritate me. Is that what you're doing? Now at this point, we can see that Sebastian gets irritated because he's probably on Robin's side and is also a little irritated. And Maru has a sweat drop, probably like a sigh, expressing, uh-oh, dad's in trouble. Our player just barges in at this point, but let's pause for a second and analyze. The parents are fighting. That's right, it's not a bicker anymore. They are actually fighting, and both of the kids are present. If we, the player, didn't walk into the house at this moment, what would have happened? I think Maru and Sebastian would have stepped in. I think Sebastian would have said something like, yeah, it's kind of insensitive to talk about her art like that. And I think Maru would have said something like, that's just very technical like that. He didn't mean it in a bad way. I think Robin would have heard Maru and taken note that Demetrius isn't trying to be purposefully obtuse. And I think Demetrius would have noticed that Maru is defending him and acknowledged that he overstepped a little. Let's be real, Demetrius probably isn't going to acknowledge Sebastian's input, but rather that people around him are starting to get upset, including Maru. If we didn't walk in, I think this could have been a chance for Demetrius to apologize and the matter would be over. But now it's a spectacle. Robin welcomes us into her home and tries to sweep everything under the rug, asking you to check out the bed that she made with the resources we provided. She asks us plainly, so, what do you think? This isn't Robin trying to drag us into the dispute. Simply, what do we think of the item that she is now going to sell in the store, thanks to our contribution? We can say either, the aesthetics are perfect, or the 4 posts seem inefficient, which is so cringe to me. It feels like such an awkward way to insert ourselves into the argument and say such a mean thing out of nowhere to Robin. Remember, our player wasn't actually around for the beginning of the cutscene. We just walked in. So for us to randomly call her project inefficient is just very weirdly mean to me. If you say, the aesthetics are perfect, Sebastian agrees and says, yeah, and Robin has a heart over her. Demetrius has this bubble over him, and he walks off, saying with this expression, well, if anyone needs me, I'll be in the doghouse. Which is so cringe, but is it mean? Is it hateful? Is it him wanting to hurt Robin purposefully? No, I think this is a moment of him realizing, uh-oh, I really screwed up. I do find the whole doghouse comment really cringe. I also hate it when people will say things like, oh, the old ball and chain. I just think it's so stupid and corny, but we have to remember that there is now a crowd watching this whole thing. And I think Demetrius felt awkward and wanted to walk away and give Robin some space. And had to say something because the player just walked in and he's not just gonna be silent and walk away. If we say the 4 posts seem inefficient, there's no reaction from Sebastian, Robin, or Maru. They just stand there silently. Demetrius has this as a bubble over him and he states, great minds think alike, which then prompts Robin to get irritated with whatever. Now, I don't think this is Demetrius going, haha, I win, because he genuinely doesn't want to hurt or upset Robin. I think this was a moment of, oh, so I'm not crazy, someone else understands me. Now, I'm not saying any of this is okay, because Demetrius should still be prioritizing Robin's thoughts and feelings over us, some person that just barged into the middle of things and said something hurtful to Robin. So let's dial back for a second. We have 2 cutscenes that are cited as evidence for Demetrius and Robin having a horrible relationship. But let's be real, the tomato thing is just a little bickering or a misunderstanding, and that's seriously no big deal. In fact, their bickering shows how comfortable they are with each other and how open they feel about expressing differing viewpoints without fear of damaging the relationship. And if you're married, raising 2 kids together, something like this is gonna blow over so quickly. It's seriously not a huge deal. This scene with the construction of the bed, now this is actually something to look at and discuss because I do consider this a fight or an argument, but we can't just look at the negatives. It's easy to let 2 instances define our entire view of this couple. For Robin and Demetrius, their cutscenes are like small windows, moments where they just so happen to be disagreeing, but to judge their entire marriage based on 2 moments out of countless interactions is definitely unfair. Think about any strong relationship you know in real life. Couples argue, they bicker, and they might have completely different opinions opinions, but these moments don't make or break the relationship. They add dimension. And in Stardew Valley, we see bickering that is low stakes and ultimately harmless. It's actually a sign of trust between the two that they can disagree without fear of it leading into something bigger. One thing that makes Robin and Demetrius stand out as a couple is how much they value quality time together. Every Friday night, you'll find them at the saloon having their date night. It's a routine that you might miss if you're not paying attention, but it's there, quietly adding layers to their relationship. Now, I don't know what y'all's experiences are in real life, but it is incredibly difficult to set aside quality time with your spouse when you also have full-time jobs and 2 kids at home. Also, I understand that Maru and Sebastian are adults, but quality time should still be spent with them. Robin does set aside time to spend with Sebastian, and Demetrius sets aside time to spend with Maru. Them having a weekly date night that is very consistent is monumental to me. I know quite a few people where their relationship has weakened or even fallen apart because of lack of quality time spent together. Life gets busy and stressful, and it gets really hard to devote time to each other, but it's so important. Unlike many other couples in Pelican Town who seem to stay at home most nights or rarely interact with each other, Robin and Demetrius make an effort to go out together. It's a simple thing, but it speaks volumes about their commitment to each other. Then, at the festivals, you'll often see them standing together, enjoying the events and chatting. They're not overly affectionate, but they don't need to be. You can see a sense of ease and familiarity in their interactions. Robin will sometimes be smiling while Demetrius talks about science, a perfect encapsulation of their dynamic. They're not always on the exact same page, but they do respect each other's interests and passions. Robin may not care much about science, but she listens because she cares about Demetrius. In a town where relationships can often feel strained or obligatory, this easygoing connection really stands out to me. And when we look at Robin and Demetrius in context, it becomes clear just how healthy the relationship is compared to others. George and Evelyn have a love that's beautiful, and I always see so many people praising it, but honestly, I find it really sad. It just seems like Evelyn has been taking care of George so much and for so long, and he's just really mean a lot. Unfortunately, sometimes one of the spouses will take the role of caretaker, and it's a really frustrating dynamic. The work never stops, and unfortunately the person that's being taken care of is going to feel insecure or feel guilty for needing help in the first place, so they're not exactly chipper on a day-to-day basis, of course. It's a dynamic that's all too common in relationships that have lasted for 30, 40, 50 years. Pierre and Caroline are weighed down by financial pressures and underlying tension, with Caroline mentioning how much she wishes Pierre would spend more time with the family, including herself. Pierre also wants to spend more free time with them, but feels as though he can't take any days off. I go into a lot more details about this in my video in Defense of Pierre, link in description. There's Jody and Kent, and I actually really love the relationship that they have, but let's be real, Kent was gone for a really long time, so what we see right now between Jody and Kent is not the norm. They have to learn what their new normal is. Robin and Demetrius don't have these same types of struggles. They respect each other's careers and ambitions, they make time for each other, and they have a balanced dynamic where both voices are heard. Demetrius doesn't try to stop Robin from running her carpentry business, and Robin never dismisses Demetrius' scientific pursuits. Let's look at a dialogue that Robin says. "My parents were bewildered when I told them I wanted to be a carpenter. They were pretty old-fashioned. Robin grew up in a household where a woman being a carpenter wasn't something that happened. Demetrius fully supports her work, and if that cutscene about the bed gave you any doubt, here's something else he says about her work at the Stardew Valley Fair. Robin works really hard on her carpentry stuff. She deserves a little recognition now and then. They're both really strong-willed individuals who have found a way to share a life without losing themselves. It's a rare and frankly refreshing example of a healthy marriage in a game that often shows the complexities of real life. Can we be real here? Is this a space where we can be honest? I honestly think a lot of people that want Robin and Demetrius to get divorced just want to marry Robin themselves, which I get. Robin's gorgeous, she's independent, she's a hard worker, but this desire for her to be single kind of undermines the whole point of her character. Robin's loyalty to Demetrius and her family and her commitment are fundamental parts of who she is. To want her to leave that behind for the player is to misunderstand her character entirely. In a game where many characters are lonely or struggling, Robin and Demetrius offer a glimpse of a well-balanced partnership. Robin's character isn't incomplete because she's married. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Her relationship with Demetrius showcases her loyalty, resilience, and ability to stand her ground. Breaking up that dynamic would not only diminish her character, but it would also remove one of the few positive depictions of marriage in the game. Now, I don't want anyone to think that I think Robin and Demetrius are perfect, because they are certainly not, but I just want to make a video that highlights some of the positives about them in a sea of videos, threads, essays, and posts about how horrible their marriage is and how they should get a divorce. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of Robin and Demetrius Demetrius' relationship. I'd love to hear more about it. Leave a comment down below. Thank y'all so much for all the likes, comments, and subs. It has really been helping the channel grow, and I'm really proud of the progress we've made. If you've got a suggestion for the next video or some headcanons that y'all have and want to share, be sure to leave a comment down below and make sure to subscribe to catch my next video. I'll be making more Stardew Valley videos, so keep an eye out. See y'all next time. Bye!